He was born with no magic talent at all. But Kaido knows exactly what every genius must burn to cast. If he removes one reagent, their best techniques die in their hands. Yeah, the royal prodigies are dragons powered by labeled kitchen jars. They mocked him, dumped him in the reagent yard, and made him count dust. His brother called him the family's broken spoon. But each advantage hits a signed tally, and his sponsor pays the balance. So every win ruins a supply house and drags one good man toward the street. Then the crown buys every academy shelf. At the flooded capital arsenal, Kaido retires the black crystal behind every elite technique. His brother's famous spell dies before thousands, while Kaido's burned hand holds the tally hook. But our yard rat didn't begin by switching off geniuses. Let's rewind to the first class he humiliated with one dirty thumb. A flame prodigy slams a red pellet into his focus and orders Kaido to stand back. The spell coughs gray smoke into the boy's perfect hair. Everyone laughs at Kaido anyway, because blaming the yard clerk costs less than admitting a genius fizzled. The instructor demands another pellet, so Kaido rolls one across this scarred table. The prodigy casts again, and the focus spits sparks like a broken toaster. Kaido raises his stained thumb and asks, "Did anyone notice the red dust became pink?" Nobody answers, so Kaido does it himself. The prodigy mixed cooling salt into his flame reagent to hide an illegal power boost. Kaido crushes the pellet, and two colors split across his palm. Our yard rat just solved the mystery with dirt under his nails. The class goes quiet while the prodigy's ears turn red. He snarls, "You switched my supply." Kaido points at the silver tube under the boy's sleeve and says, "Then why is your private batch hiding right there?" Even the instructor takes one careful step away. The academy sends the prodigy away, but Kaido receives the punishment. He must replace every pellet used during the inspection. The yard master, Oren, signed for Kaido's work, so the charge lands on Oren's tab. How does proving fraud make them poorer? Because this academy balances every advantage against a signer. If Kaido opens sealed stock, Oren owes the replacement and a penalty. The rule is complete nonsense, but rich houses wrote it, so naturally it arrived wearing a gold ribbon. Oren opens a tally book with a soup stain shaped like a dragon. The old man says, 3 more charges, and they take my workshop. Kaido's jaw tightens. He promises to stop spending, which is adorable because trouble is already kicking the door. A second-year genius arrives with 6 followers and demands moonchok. Kaido points at this empty shelf and says the flame prodigy burned the weekly supply. The girl raises one eyebrow. Then make more. Apparently, our boy has been promoted from clerk to moon. Kaido scrapes white residue from returned focus rings. He can recover enough chalk for one technique, but opening the wash drum adds another charge. Oren tells him to refuse. Kaido sees the students blocking the yard gate and opens it anyway. The second year draws a silver wolf with the recovered chalk. The creature forms, takes 2 proud steps, and melts into a puddle. Her followers stare at Kaido. He points at the wet paw marks and asks, "What happens when 6 people share one dose?" The girl understands first. Her followers skimmed chalk from her packet before the cast. She turns, and 5 expensive smiles suddenly look like Windows updates stuck at 99%. One boy runs. The others discover that confidence has terrible sprint speed. The girl catches the slowest thief and drags him back by his collar. He admits a senior paid them to waste supplies. Before he can name that senior, a black dart strikes the gate beside his cheek. Someone wants this little reagent problem kept quiet. Kaido follows a trail of black dust across the stone hall. Oren follows because leaving an 18-year-old clerk alone with an assassin feels slightly irresponsible. The trail ends beside a bronze saint whose nose has been replaced with a cork. Kaido pulls out the cork and finds a burned order slip. Only one name remains readable, Cassian, Kaido's older brother. Oren's fingers stop above the paper. Kaido folds it once and says, "Now I know which genius is afraid of a yard rat." Cassian waits beneath a banner, showing his victory over 3 wyverns. He is tall, spotless, and wearing enough medals to sink a fishing boat. When Kaido shows the burned slip, Cassian smiles and asks whether the reagent fumes finally damaged his brain. Kaido points at the black dust on Cassian's glove. Cassian says every elite caster uses black ember crystal. That answer is true, but it arrives too quickly. You know exactly what our boy notices when a liar brings his own shovel. Cassian steps closer and calls Kaido the family's broken spoon. He says their father erased Kaido's name after the talent test showed 0 mana. Kaido doesn't flinch. Oren's hand closes around the tally hook until his knuckles turn white. Then Cassian offers a deal. Kaido can leave the academy, and Oren's charges disappear. Kaido asks, why would the top student bargain with someone powerless? Cassian's smile thins. There it is. The genius doesn't fear Kaido's magic. He fears Kaido counting. Kaido refuses, so Cassian burns the order slip with one blue spark. Oren watches the ash settle into a bucket of turnip peels. The old man says powerful families can erase paper. Kaido answers, then we'll make them erase an entire shelf. That night, Kaido weighs every black ember crystal in the yard. 12 pieces are missing, yet the signed slips claim only 4. Each piece powers one elite technique. Somebody is building enough hidden firepower to turn the academy into charcoal. Kaido climbs onto the roof and sees a blue flash inside the student dormitory. A second flash answers from the northern wall. Those aren't training spells. They are test signals, and both use stolen black ember. Kaido and Oren reach the wall beside a guard eating pickled eggs from his helmet. The guard refuses to open the tower without a signed order. Then blue fire bursts through the upper window, and the helmet loses both eggs. Inside, 3 masked students feed black ember into a copper frame. The frame points toward the palace district. Kaido recognizes a long-range focus, but why aim academy magic at the crown? Nobody gets time to answer because the frame starts screaming. Oren shoves Kaido behind a stone post as blue fire tears across the room. One masked student runs. Another draws a blade. The third grabs the copper frame and discovers it has welded itself to his gloves. Kaido points at a leaking green tube under the frame. He tells Oren to break the window. Cold rain strikes the overheated reagent, and the blue fire collapses. The armed student stares at his dead spell as if Kaido just unplugged Thor. The student lunges with his blade instead. Kaido throws a sack of powdered shell into his face, then drives the brass tally hook into his belt. Oren pulls the rope, and the attacker swings upside down above the stairs. No mana. Excellent packaging. The trapped student refuses to name his buyer. Kaido asks why the frame targeted the palace. The boy spits near Kaido's boot and says, "You'll learn when the crown arrives." Then his hidden ring cracks, flooding the tower with sleeping mist. Kaido wakes with a copper taste in his mouth. Oren is still unconscious beside him, and the masked students are gone. A healer says the academy found no frame, no stolen crystals, and no evidence beyond a broken window. Cassian stands at the foot of Kaido's bed. He says hallucinations are common around reagent fumes. Kaido points at the fresh burn on Cassian's cuff. Cassian covers it slowly. Is the older brother running the theft or cleaning up for someone worse? The academy charges Oren for the broken tower window. His tab now carries the price of a small house and one very ugly horse. Oren laughs once, but the sound dies fast. He folds the notice and hides it under the soup-stained book. By sunrise, a royal examiner announces an emergency combat lesson. Every final year student must demonstrate a signature technique. Kaido is ordered to issue the reagents, and Cassian will perform last. Our yard rat finally gets a front row seat beside the fuel tank. Students crowd this barred window with signed slips. Kaido checks each weight, seal, and smell. One Thundercaster complains that Kaido takes longer than a loading screen. Kaido removes a dead beetle from his packet and says, "Your supplier added a passenger." The Thundercaster throws his spell at a stone target. Lightning bends sideways and cooks the instructor's lunchbox. Kaido points at the smoking noodles. That beetle ate the copper dust. The examiner writes 1 mark while the instructor mourns his dumplings. A wind genius demands 3 measures of sky resin. Her slip allows 2. She says her house always gets extra. Kato refuses, so she signs an emergency line herself and tells him to remember who outranks whom. Her cyclone rises beautifully, then doubles beyond control. Benches spin into the air. A judge grabs his wig, loses the bench, and somehow keeps the wig. Keto pours common ash across the boundary, starving the cyclone of resin vapor. The wind genius lands inside a barrel with only her boots showing. Kaido tells her that the 3rd measure pushed the spell past its safe mix. She kicks the barrel once. Our boy has now humiliated 2 geniuses and promoted 1 judge's wig to survivor. Cassian corners Kaido before his turn. He says, "Issue my full case, or Oren pays for obstructing the examination." Kaido checks the case. It holds 7 black crystals, though Cassian's signature technique should need only 1. Kaido asks what the other 6 power. Cassian answers, talent. Then he signs the emergency line with a silver pen. The mark transfers the cost to Oren's guarantee because Kaido is still an apprentice. That little stroke could take the old man's workshop. Cassian enters while the academy cheers. His technique creates a blue lion large enough to bite the tower roof. The royal examiner leans forward. Kaido watches 7 empty crystal slots appear along Cassian's focus. The lion charges 6 stone targets and destroys them together. Students scream Cassian's name. Oren stares at the ruined targets, then at his shaking hands. Cassian did not need 7 crystals for power. He needed them to hide 7 separate casts inside one beast. Kaido walks onto the field before the applause ends. Cassian asks whether the yard rat wants to be eaten. Kaido points at 7 blue scorch lines across the lion's ribs. One beast should leave 1 trail. Yours leaves 7. The examiner orders Cassian to repeat the technique with 1 crystal. Cassian refuses because the first cast drained him. Kaido holds up the signed case. 6 crystal sockets are empty, and every genius in the arena can count when Shame offers free tutoring. Cassian attacks without warning. The blue lion turns toward Kaido, but its paws begin breaking apart. Kaido scattered wet limestone where the beast would step. Black Ember hates lime, and this giant kitty just found the world's worst litter box. The lion collapses before reaching him. Cassian freezes with one hand extended. Kaido cannot cast, block, or sense mana. He simply knows what the technique eats, and he has just made the Academy's brightest genius fizzle in public. The students erupt. Half call Kaido a cheat, while the other half start checking their own packets. The examiner demands silence and asks Kaido how he knew. Kaido answers, because I count what talented people think is beneath them. A supply house matron watches from behind a black fan. Beside her, the crown's quartermaster, Voss, rolls a brass coin across his fingers. The matron whispers that Kaido is dangerous. Voss says, no. Dangerous people usually own shoes without holes. Cassian demands a formal duel. Kaido has no combat rank, so the examiner refuses. Cassian turns to the crowd and calls his brother a servant hiding behind dust. Kaido accepts anyway because Oren's workshop disappears tonight unless the examiner cancels those charges. The examiner offers terms. Kaido may use anything listed in the yard, but every item goes onto Oren's tab. Cassian may use 1 legal reagent case. Oren says, don't. Kaido sees the old man's packed workshop key and says, you already did. Kaido prepares with chalk, sour oil, 2 clay jars, and 1 crate of spoiled onions. A spear student laughs so hard he nearly drops his weapon. Kaido asks if the boy has ever fought an onion. Nobody has, which makes Kaido undefeated already. Mira, the wind genius from the barrel, stops him. She says Cassian's lion changes elements after the first block. Kaido asks why she would help. Mira taps the debt slip in her pocket. Cassian's house charged her for the resin that caused her failure. Kaido gives Mira 1 task. When Cassian casts, she must watch the lion's mouth. Mira wants a better explanation. Kaido says, if it turns green, run. She stares at him. He adds, that was the better explanation. Cassian begins with a smaller blue lion. Kaido rolls the first clay jar under it. Sour oil bursts across the sand, and the beast jumps aside. Cassian laughs because the oil cannot harm mana. Kaido never claimed it could. The oil reveals 7 separate paw trails. Each hidden cast moves a different limb. Kaido throws chalk into the tracks, and the lion's left side slows. Cassian forces more power through the right side, making the beast spin like Mario Kart on ice. The crowd laughs, and Cassian's face goes blank. Then the lion's mouth turns green. Mira screams for everyone to duck. Poison flame washes over the arena rail, melting 3 shields and the spear student's heroic eyebrows. Kaido hides behind the onion crate. The poison reacts with the sulfur inside the bulbs and turns into thick yellow foam. Cassian's strongest counter buries Kaido under splintered wood. When the smoke clears, our boy does not stand up. Oren reaches the boundary, but the examiner blocks him. Cassian walks toward the wreckage and says talent always wins. Then 1 spoiled onion rolls from the smoke and bumps his polished boot. Kaido's hand closes around the arena rope. Kaido pulls, dropping a rain tarp across the lion. The wet cloth steals heat from the remaining black ember vapor. Cassian tries to feed another crystal into his focus, but Kaido's tally hook snaps the case shut from 10 feet away. The lion dies. Kaido rises with blood running from his temple and onion skins stuck to his apron. He drags Cassian's case into the open. 6 crystals inside are painted glass. The only real piece sits inside Cassian's ring. Kaido says Cassian replaced Academy stock with fakes, then used stolen crystals during demonstrations. Cassian punches him before he can finish. Kaido hits the ground, and nobody laughs now. Oren's boots stop at the boundary. Mira steps between them. She points at Cassian's ring and tells the examiner to inspect it. The Thundercaster joins her, followed by the student whose packet held the beetle. One accusation becomes 6, then 20. Cassian's shoulders tighten as the crowd turns. The examiner removes his ring and finds a black crystal stamped by the yard. Cassian loses the duel, but he does not lose his rank. His family's supply house pays a fine and keeps smiling. Kaido leans against the wall while Orin wraps his head. The examiner cancels half the charges, but the duel consumed enough stock to double the rest. Kaido won, Cassian fumbled, and Orin still moved closer to ruin. That signed balance never misses dinner. A messenger nails a red notice to the workshop door. Orin must repay everything within 30 days. If he fails, the supply house takes the workshop and his pension. Kaido reads the amount twice, then quietly removes his bloodied bandage. Orin says he vouched for Kaido because somebody once vouched for him. He refuses to regret it. Kaido looks at the soup-stained tally book and asks who owns Cassian's supply house. Orin answers, the woman with the black fan. Kaido meets Mira beside a stove covered in purple soup. She has copied the Wind student's supply slips. Every order runs through the same house, and every packet weighs slightly less than promised. Someone has been shaving Academy stock for years. Mira asks what Kaido plans to do. He says he will count every missing grain and force the house to replace it. She points at his bruised face. That plan already hit you. Kaido replies, then it knows where to find me. 3 carts arrive carrying fresh star salt. Kaido cuts open the first sack and finds white powder over cheap river sand. He shows this sparkling fraud to the delivery captain. The man shrugs and says the seal proves it is genuine. Kaido licks 1 grain, spits, and calls it sand. The captain asks whether yard rats usually eat merchandise. Kaido says, only when the merchandise looks like it came from Minecraft. Orin coughs into his sleeve to hide a laugh. The captain refuses to take the carts back. If Kaido rejects them, Orin's tab absorbs the delivery cost. If he accepts them, students may die when their shields fail. Does our boy choose the workshop or the academy? Kaido accepts all 3 carts. Orin grabs his shoulder, but Kaido signs nothing. Instead, he tells the captain to sign that the sacks arrived unopened. The captain does, pleased that the powerless clerk finally learned obedience. Kaido pours 1 sack into this wide copper bath. Real star salt floats in cold water. River sand sinks. Almost the entire delivery hits the bottom, along with 3 black teeth and a brass casino chip. Mira asks why he accepted the fraud. Kaido points at the captain's signature. Rejected stock becomes Orin's problem, but accepted counterfeit stock becomes the signer's problem once proven. For once, the balance bites the hand holding the pen. The delivery captain tries to flee. The Thundercaster blocks one side, while the barrel-shaped Wind Genius blocks the other. Mira smiles and asks if he prefers lightning or another barrel. The captain chooses honesty with impressive speed. He admits the supply matron ordered him to stretch every shipment. Cassian bought the missing black ember through her. Before he reveals where the real stock went, an arrow punches through the office window and catches him in the shoulder. Kaido spots a hooded archer running over the tiled roof. Mira launches Wind under Kaido's boots, throwing him across the gap. He lands face first beside a stone gargoyle holding an umbrella. Heroic? No. Effective? Disturbingly. The archer reaches the bell rope and cuts it. The falling bell crashes between Kaido and Mira. He points at silver powder on the rope. The archer coated it with flash dust, so the next spark will turn this tower into a giant alarm bomb. Mira prepares Wind, but Kaido grabs her wrist. Wind would spread the dust. He empties the gargoyle's rain barrel down the stairs instead. The powder clumps, and the archer's fire dart makes one sad pop. The archer draws a second dart. Kaido throws the brass casino chip from the fake shipment. It strikes the bowstring, and Mira's wind pins the attacker against the bell. The hood slips, revealing a first-year student. The boy trembles and says the supply house owns his family's debt. He had to silence the captain or lose their farm. Kaido lowers the tally hook. Mira asks whether he is letting an assassin go. Kaido tells the boy to deliver a message instead. Tell the matron I accepted her sand. The student looks confused. Kaido points at the clumped flash dust. And tell her I'm returning everything she mixed into it. The delivery captain survives, but he refuses to speak again. His hands shake whenever black cloth enters the room. Kaido leaves the casino chip on his blanket. The captain grabs it and whispers one location, the East Warehouse. Kaido, Mira, and Orin reach a warehouse beside the canal. Crates rise to the roof, each stamped with royal seals. A one-eyed watchman says the building stores lamp oil. Behind him, a crate growls. Kaido asks whether lamp oil usually has claws. The watchman blows a whistle. 6 hired casters step from the aisles, and every focus glows green. Our boy came for stolen reagents and found the Avengers working a night shift. Mira throws up a windshield as acid bolts strike. Oren kicks over a cart of powdered bone. Kaido points at the attacker's green focuses and shouts that acid spells need beetle bile. The cold warehouse is making their supply thicken. Kaido cuts open an ice storage pipe. Frost spills across the floor, and 3 enemy focuses clog. Mira flings those casters into lamp oil barrels. One attacker adapts by heating his focus against his own chest. The man fires at Oren. Kaido shoves the old man aside and takes the acid across his apron. The oiled canvas saves his skin, but the brass tally hook melts against his belt. Kaido drops it with a hiss. Oren's face changes when he sees the burned apron. He grabs a shovel and knocks the attacker into a crate. The crate breaks, releasing 2 caged ember hounds. Both beasts smell the acid and charge the nearest moving targets. The hired casters run first. One hound tackles the watchman through a stack of fake star salt. The other corners Mira beside the canal door. Wind only feeds its flame, so her strongest talent becomes the worst possible answer. Kaido throws the remaining cold beetle bile across the hound's mouth. Its flame glands seize. Mira kicks open the canal door, and Oren uses the shovel to send the beast swimming. Somewhere, Gordon Ramsay just rejected this recipe. The surviving hound bites through the caster captain's focus. The captain screams for Kaido to help. Kaido points at a red emergency jar above the aisle and tells him to break it. The man obeys, releasing fire-suppressing foam over everyone. Kaido saves him because dead men cannot explain royal seals. The captain admits the matron stores genuine reagents here, then sells diluted stock to the academy. Cassian protects the scheme by controlling student inspections. Oren opens a royal crate and finds black ember packed beneath dried fish. One crystal carries a blue vein that moves like a pulse. Kaido has handled thousands, but he has never seen black ember look alive. Before they can take evidence, the warehouse doors slam shut. Fire starts along the roof. The matron would rather burn royal stock than lose her house. Kaido sees the flames spreading toward cages filled with delivery workers. Mira wants to save the crystals first because they prove everything. Kaido cuts the cage ropes instead. The workers drop into the foam and crawl free. The blue-veined crystal disappears into the smoke with the fleeing caster captain. Kaido climbs after him while burning tiles slide into the canal. The captain reaches the next roof, but a black carriage waits below. Cassian opens its door and orders him inside. There's the older brother, collecting loose ends like Pokemon. Mira carries Kaido across the gap on a burst of wind. The carriage bolts over this narrow bridge. Oren throws his shovel at a wheel, but misses and destroys a fruit seller's pineapple pyramid. The seller's stare may be the strongest attack tonight. Kaido notices blue dust leaking from the carriage. The living crystal is overheating. He shouts for everyone to leave the bridge. Cassian hears him and throws the crystal through the window instead. The crystal hits the canal and erupts under the water. The bridge lifts, cracks, and drops the carriage against one rail. Cassian escapes through blue fire. The caster captain remains trapped inside as the carriage begins sliding. Kaido grabs the captain's hand. The man clutches the evidence case with his other arm. He says the case proves who bought the crystals. Then the bridge shifts again, and Kaido cannot hold both man and case. The captain releases the evidence first. Kaido catches his wrist with both hands, but the burned tally hook tears through his belt. The man slips into the black water. His head appears once beside a floating pineapple, then vanishes. Nobody speaks while guards search the canal. Mira sits with both fists locked against her knees. Oren washes blood from Kaido's burned hand. The evidence is gone, the witness is dead, and the flames behind them keep eating the warehouse. The loss follows them into the next hour. Mira refuses to use wind because one blast might disturb the search water. Kaido keeps looking at the spot where the captain vanished. Oren finally says, "You saved who you could." By dawn, the supply house blames Kaido for destroying its warehouse. It produces Cassian's statement, and the captain's signed arrival log. The academy freezes Oren's workshop until the damage is paid. One dead witness just became their best liar. Officials seal the shelves with red cord. Oren removes his apron and hangs it beside a cracked mug. Kaido doesn't tell him everything will be fine. He points at the soup-stained book and asks who signed the warehouse stock into academy use. Oren finds 6 names. 5 belong to minor house clerks. The 6th belongs to the supply matron herself. Every diluted sack entered under her mark, which means her own tally can balance the missing weight if they prove the academy received less. Kaido walks into breakfast, carrying a scale. Students stop chewing. He drops 1 academy flame pellet and 1 private house pellet onto opposite plates. The academy pellet weighs a third less. Cassian rises from the elite table and calls the comparison meaningless. Kaido points at every focus in the room. Then cast with academy stock. Nobody moves. Would you trust breakfast after learning the cook replaced flour with wall dust? A proud ice genius volunteers. Her spear forms thin, cracks, and explodes over the porridge. 40 students duck. 1 keeps eating because exams have already removed his will to live. Kaido asks how many students bought private packets after academy spells began failing. Nearly every hand rises. The matron diluted public stock, then sold the cure through her house. Cassian helped create the failures that made his allies rich. Cassian challenges the accusation. Kaido cannot show the burned warehouse records. So he offers a live test at the upcoming forest convoy, where students must use sealed academy kits. If Cassian's team succeeds, Kaido will leave forever. If the kits fail, every private supply contract faces inspection. The students begin whispering. Cassian accepts because refusing would look like fear. He tells Kaido, "Pack my case carefully." Kaido answers, "I always count the knives." With the main yard sealed, Kaido packs convoy kits inside a broom closet. Mira helps while 3 mops drip on her cape. The royal geniuses are about to enter a monster forest carrying supplies prepared beside a bucket labeled Haunted. Kateto cannot open fresh stock, so he recovers residue from returned focuses. Each kit gets exact minimum doses. Mira asks whether that is safe. Kaido says yes, unless students waste reagents showing off. She looks toward Cassian's tower and sighs. A quiet healer named Sella brings damaged focus rings from the infirmary. She says patients kept arriving with burns after using academy pellets. Kaido points at tiny black lines inside the rings. The diluted reagent is not merely weak. It is eating the focuses. Sella shows them a first year whose hand will not stop shaking. His focus burst during a shield spell. The boy says Cassian ordered him to test a new packet. Cassian knew the stock was dangerous and used younger students as test dummies. Kaido's fingers close around the bed rail. Sella notices and covers the first year's hand with a blanket. Nobody jokes. Kaido asks the boy what Cassian said afterward. The answer comes softly. He said talent would have made it hold. Kaido finds Cassian waiting beside the sealed shelves. Cassian says weak students get hurt because weak things break. Kato asks whether that includes their father, who died supplying Cassian's first war trial. Cassian's smile disappears. He tells Kaido never to use their father's death as a weapon. Kaido points at the sealed black ember cabinet. You used everything else. Cassian's focus lights, but guards arrive before the spell forms. The forest convoy leaves beneath gray rain. Cassian leads 6 elite students. Kaido rides on the reagent cart beside Oren, Mira, and Sella. One wheel squeaks in the rhythm of a duck, insulting them. A bronze rank boar attacks before the convoy reaches the forest. Cassian orders a thunder genius to kill it. The boy burns half his copper dust on one flashy bolt, leaving enough electricity to toast the boar and every nearby fern. Kaido points at the half-empty tube. He warns that the boy has only 2 casts left. The genius says he needs one. 5 minutes later, 3 more boars step from the trees. You can almost hear mathematics sharpening a knife. Mira traps 2 boars with a low wind wall. Cassian kills the third using a blue flame blade. He consumes 4 times the required black ember because the instructors are watching. Kaido marks the waste in charcoal. Cassian sees the mark and asks if Kaido plans to defeat monsters with handwriting. Kaido says, "No. I'm waiting for your handwriting to defeat you." Oren smiles despite himself. The yard rat bit has grown teeth. The convoy stops beside mushrooms shaped like tiny umbrellas. Sella checks an injured guard. Kaido counts the remaining stock and finds 1 healing packet missing. Its signed line belongs to a spear genius who claims he never touched it. Kayeto points at silver pollen on the boy's glove. Healing moss leaves that stain. The genius admits he used the packet to repair his expensive cape after a boar tore it. Sella stares at him, then slowly looks at the bleeding guard. The instructor confiscates the cape and gives Sella the recovered moss. The spear genius protests until Mira asks whether he wants another barrel. That callback works beautifully. Even the mushrooms seem ready to testify. The convoy reaches a ravine where a bone stag guards the bridge. Its antlers carry old swords, boots, and one full tea set. Cassian orders a combined attack before Kaido can inspect the creature. Fire, lightning, and wind strike together. The stag absorbs the magic through crystal growths under its ribs. Its antlers shine, and every trapped sword begins firing the student's spells back at them. A reflected flame cuts the supply cart in half. Reagent cases scatter toward the ravine. Orin catches one, Mira catches another, and the duck wheel finally achieves freedom. It rolls off the cliff without looking back. Kaido sees the stag feeding on powdered reagents from the broken cart. He shouts for everyone to stop casting. Cassian orders them to attack harder. Which command do geniuses follow when pride and survival start a fistfight? The Thundercaster chooses Cassian. His bolt returns through the stag's antlers and strikes a young guard in the chest. The guard falls against the bridge rope. Sella runs to him while the creature lowers its head. Kaido throws an empty reagent case into the ravine. The stag follows the smell and turns. Mira uses one narrow wind burst to shove it off balance, but the monster hooks the bridge with 3 antlers. Cassian fires his lion blade into the hooked antler. The strike breaks one crystal branch, and the stored spells explode. The bridge tears loose. Kaido grabs Sella, while Orin catches the wounded guard by his armor. They crash onto a ledge below. The guard's eyes stay open, but his chest does not move. Sella presses both hands over the wound until her sleeves turn dark. Then she stops and sits beside him. Cassian lands nearby and says they must move before the stag returns. Kaido looks at the dead guard's cracked badge. Mira removes her cape and covers him. Nobody moves until Orin says his name aloud and closes his eyes. The convoy leaves the body beneath a stone shelter because carrying him would draw monsters. Sella takes his badge. For the next 2 scenes, she says nothing. Her healing focus stays shut, even when her own palm bleeds. Rain traps the survivors inside a cave lined with glowing snail shells. Kaido counts the remaining reagents. Cassian's waste and the broken cart leave them without enough power to fight the stag again. The spear genius blames Kaido's minimum doses. Mira points at Cassian's half-empty case. There was enough before your leader performed for the trees. Cassian's jaw shifts, but the instructors heard her. Kaido proposes baiting the stag with the reagents it already absorbed. Cassian asks how they can bait it without stock. Kaido holds up the students' used focus filters. Waste clings inside them because geniuses never clean their toys. They scrape residue into one clay pot. The mixture includes fire ash, copper dust, healing moss, and something from the spear genius's cape. It smells like a pharmacy lost a fight with wet socks. Kaido needs someone to carry the bait across the ledge. Cassian orders Sella. She finally looks up, clutching the dead guard's badge. Kaido refuses and says he will carry it because the plan is his. Kaido walks into the rain with the clay pot. The bone stag climbs from the darkness, wearing the missing duck wheel between its antlers. Our monster has looted the convoy and somehow improved the outfit. The stag charges. Kaido waits until its crystal ribs glow, then smashes the bait against the cliff. The mixed residue makes every stored spell activate at once. Fire fights healing moss while lightning chases wind through the antlers. The stag locks in place, but it does not fall. One antler spears through Kaido's apron and pins him to the cliff. Cassian says the plan failed. Then the cracked crystal under the stag's ribs begins flashing. Sella opens her focus. She uses the last healing moss on the crystal rather than Kaido. The moss forces the damaged growth to repair too quickly. It swells, splits the stag's ribs, and exposes the soft core beneath. Mira asks, "Can Wind reach it?" Kaido shouts, "Right there." Her blade of air cuts through the exposed core. The bone stag collapses, dragging Kaido down with it before Orin catches his apron strap. Cassian claims the kill because his earlier strike cracked the antler. Sella walks over and slaps him with the dead guard's badge. Her hand keeps shaking afterward, but she does not apologize. At sunrise, the instructors record the guard's death and every reagent used. Cassian's team failed the sealed stock test. Yet the supply matron sends a message blaming Kaido for packing unsafe minimum doses. The message also offers Orin a way out. Hand over Kaido and the counterfeit claim disappears with the debt. Orin tears the page in half. Kaido watches him do it, knowing the old man just chose ruin in one clean motion. The convoy returns with one empty place. Students waiting at the gate stop cheering when they see the covered badge. Sella walks past them without looking up. The first-year patient silently joins her. The academy lights one candle for the guard. His mother places a wooden horse beside it because he carved them between shifts. Cassian stands at the back for 3 breaths, then leaves when officials approach Kaido. Kaido remains after the others go. He sets the recovered duck wheel beside the wooden horse. It is ridiculous, but the guard laughed at that squeak all morning. Sella finally speaks and says he would have liked it. The Academy Council accuses Kaido of reckless packing. The supply matron sits behind her black fan. Cassian stands beside her, while Voss watches from a high chair and spins that brass coin. The matron says Kaido endangered noble students by issuing exact minimum doses. Kaido asks whether Academy rules require safe doses or generous doses. She answers, safe. He points at Cassian's use record. The unsafe shortage began after Cassian wasted 4 shares. Cassian says battlefield choices cannot be judged by a clerk. Mira tells the council his choice was showing off against 1 boar. The Thundercaster confirms it. Even the spear genius nods because dead guards make pride harder to swallow. The matron changes targets. She claims the yard accepted counterfeit stock, so Kaido approved its quality. Kaido presents the captain's signed arrival line and the water test jar. Sand sits at the bottom beneath that lonely casino chip. The matron says the captain acted alone. Kaido asks why her personal mark appears on all 6 shipments. She closes the fan. Voss stops rolling his coin. This powerless boy just made the room hear silence. Still, the council wants original warehouse records. Kaido has none. The matron smiles and demands his removal. Voss finally speaks. He gives Kaido 7 days to prove the stock was stolen, or the crown will accept the matron's version. Then Voss buys Oren's debt from the supply house. The quartermaster says the crown now owns every charge. Oren has 7 days before royal collectors take his workshop. Somebody just replaced a shark with a dragon wearing spectacles. Mira asks why Voss helped. Kaido says he did not. Voss bought leverage because the Academy's supply problem reaches the crown. The blue-veined crystal probably powered that palace signal, and Voss wants whoever built it. Kaido studies the soup-stained tally book by lantern. 1 supply route appears repeatedly beside missing Black Ember. Every shipment passes through a mountain depot called the Ash House, then reaches the Academy under different cart names. Oren says the Ash House closed 10 years ago after a mine collapse. Kaido points at fresh ink beside last week's shipment. Dead depots do not sign receipts. Well, unless the Royal Postal Service has expanded into necromancy. They prepare 3 horses, but Sella arrives with the first-year patient's damaged focus. She found blue crystal dust inside it. The same living vein from the warehouse contaminated Academy stock months before Cassian began stealing. Sella insists on coming because the dead guard deserves an answer. Oren tells her the mountain road is dangerous. She tightens the guard's badge around her wrist and says, so was trusting the Academy. Kaido, Mira, Sella, and Oren ride north through cold rain. A merchant convoy passes carrying empty reagent crates toward the Academy. Kaido points at fresh black stains under the wheels. Empty crates should not leave heavy tracks. They stop at a shrine whose stone fox wears 6 knitted hats. Kaido checks the convoy marks in the mud. The wagons traveled from the Academy, not toward it. Someone is removing stock before the crown's inspection. A shrine keeper says black wagons pass every 3rd night. The drivers pay with Academy meal tokens and never show their faces. Last night, 1 wagon carried a blue light under its tarp and made every fox hat stand straight up. Mira wants to follow the wagons. Kaido chooses the old mine instead because the supply records point there. Sella asks whether that abandons stolen Academy stock. Kaido says both trails are connected, but they cannot chase every knife at once. The Ash House looks dead from outside. Ivy covers the doors, and a bird has built a nest inside the cracked sign. Kaido touches the handle. It is warm. Inside, workers pack Black Ember into fresh Academy boxes. Most wear chains around one ankle. A foreman sees Kaido and rings a copper bell. Hidden doors open, releasing 4 ash mages with gray masks. The first mage throws a smoke blade. Mira redirects it into the rafters, but the smoke begins eating the support ropes. Sella pulls 2 chained workers away as burning crates fall between them. Kaido points at the mage's wrist tubes. They breathe powdered pearl to see through ash. Oren smashes a crate of lamp pepper under their feet. 3 mages begin sneezing so hard their smoke spells draw tiny circles. The 4th mage seals his mask and charges Kaido. Our boy throws no reagent. He grabs the warm door handle. He removed outside and blocks the mage's focus. The hot iron melts the pearl tube against the mask. Mira pins the mage to a packing table. Kaido asks who owns the depot. The man laughs and says, everyone with talent. Before Kaido can press him, the foreman cuts a hanging chain. A lift packed with black ember drops toward the lower mine. The falling weight pulls every worker's ankle chain tight. Sella grabs one chain, Mira catches another, and Orin reaches the brake wheel. The foreman attacks Orin with a hooked blade. Kaido intercepts him, taking a cut across the shoulder. He cannot overpower the man, so he jams his brass tally hook into the brake teeth. The lift stops one floor above destruction. The tally hook bends, and Kaido's burned hand splits open around it. Orin knocks the foreman down, but the old man's breathing turns rough. The workers free themselves and surround the foreman. He offers gold. One chained miner points at a lunch pail containing half a potato and asks whether gold can return 10 dead men. The foreman finally stops smiling. Kaido searches the office and finds payments from 5 noble supply houses. Cassian's mark appears beside the largest order. Voss's royal mark appears too, but on older pages dated before he became quartermaster. Why was Voss buying living crystal years ago? Kido asks the foreman, who says the crown funded the mine's reopening. The academy theft only hides how much black ember the palace truly consumes. The foreman reveals another problem. Living black ember grows inside a sleeping underground beast. Every crystal removed weakens the seal around that creature. The elites have powered their careers by picking scales from a chained monster. Mira asks how long the seal has left. The foreman points at a cup trembling across the desk. Maybe until dinner. You know it is bad when the apocalypse checks the menu first. A deep impact shakes the depot. Blue light pours through cracks in the floor. Workers run for the doors, but stone shutters slam down. Cassian steps onto the upper walkway with 20 academy guards. Cassian says Kaido has trespassed on royal property and attacked legal workers. He offers Orin freedom if Kaido surrenders the records. Orin laughs, then bends over as pain catches his chest. Kaido asks Cassian whether he knew about the chained miners. Cassian says somebody must gather the reagents that protect the kingdom. Talent has a cost. Kaido looks at the ankle scars below and answers, you just never paid yours. Cassian orders the guards to seize them. Mira raises wind, but the mine ceiling sheds black shards. One wrong blast could wake the beast completely. Kaido tells everyone to lower their focuses. Cassian attacks anyway. His blue lion tears along the walkway and breaks 2 support pillars. The sleeping beast shifts below. A massive eye opens beneath the crystal floor. Every guard freezes. The beast's pupil is wider than the depot. Cassian's lion flickers because living black ember answers to the creature beneath them. His signature technique has been borrowing power from something that just woke up angry. The beast releases one pulse. Academy focuses shatter across the walkway. Mira's ring splits, Sella's healing lens cracks, and Cassian's lion folds into blue dust. Kaido remains standing because 0 mana gives the pulse nothing to break. Our powerless yard rat becomes the only person who can cross the floor. He points at the old mining lamps and orders the workers to light common oil. Blue magic is useless, but fire still remembers its day job. Kaido walks toward the seal while the beast's breath lifts his apron. Cassian tells him the seal needs black ember magic. Kaido says the old builders had no living crystal when they made the first cage. They used iron, salt, and pressure. He studies the chains and finds fresh crystal wedged into every locking tooth. The crown replaced simple iron brakes with magical ones, making the whole seal dependent on the beast's own scales. Even IKEA would reject this assembly plan. Kaido orders Orin to open the emergency water gate. Orin reaches the wheel, but Cassian blocks him with a sword. Without magic, the older brother is still trained, fast, and furious. Cassian says flooding the mine destroys the kingdom's strongest supply. Kaido says leaving it dry destroys the mountain. Cassian attacks Orin. Sella catches the blade with the dead guard's metal badge, and the badge snaps in half. Sella stares at the broken pieces for one breath. Then she drives her shoulder into Cassian and sends both of them against the rail. Her palm opens on the jagged badge, but she does not let go. Mira uses the last air trapped inside her cracked focus. One short burst knocks Cassian's sword into the pit. Orin turns the wheel. Rusted pipes groan, yet no water comes. The foreman admits he sold the emergency reservoir to a dye factory. Of course he did. Our boy has reached the final boss of every kingdom, a manager who traded safety for quarterly profit. Kaido points at the ore-washing tanks above them. They still hold thousands of gallons of dirty water. The workers break the release bars with pickaxes. Black water floods down the walls and covers the crystal locks. Kaido throws sacks of common salt into the current. The salt carries rust through every locking tooth. Old iron swells, the brakes bite, and the chains tighten around the beast again. The creature's eye begins closing. Then Cassian grabs one loose black crystal and forces it into his broken focus. Blue fire wraps his arm. He would rather wake the beast than lose the power behind his name. Cassian fires at Kaido. Oren steps between them and takes the blast across his chest. The old man hits the railing, slips, and nearly falls into the flooded pit. Kaido catches Oren's wrist with his injured hand. Skin tears across his palm, but he holds on. Mira and Sella pull the old man up while Cassian runs with the payment records. The beast settles, yet Oren does not wake. Sella presses her cracked focus against his chest and gets no spell. She begins working with both hands instead, counting each breath aloud. They carry Oren outside on a packing door. Snow begins falling through the burned roof. Kaido sits beside him, still gripping the bent tally hook. Sella says the blast damaged his heart, but he is alive. Kaido wants to chase Cassian. Oren's fingers catch his sleeve. The old man opens his eyes and says, "Count people first." Kaido stays. Cassian escapes with the records, and that choice costs them their clean proof. Oren survives, but he cannot return to hard work. His hands shake when he lifts a cup. The healer gives him a clay whistle to call for help, and Oren keeps accidentally summoning the clinic's annoyed goat. Kaido tells Oren the depot workers will testify. Oren asks whether testimony beats noble seals. Kaito looks at the workers waiting outside and says, "Not alone." He needs the academy to see its spells failing for the same reason. Mira gathers miners, while Sella copies the injury records. Kaido visits a smith who once repaired the mine chains. The smith keeps nails in 7 teacups and remembers every bad choice the crown made. The smith explains that living black ember becomes unstable after repeated heating. Elite students push it through dozens of casts, then return the residue to be pressed into new crystals. The academy is recycling a reagent that gets angrier every time. Kaido asks what neutralizes it. The smith points at ordinary white null salt used to clean forge floors. Mixed in the right ratio, null salt turns black ember into dead gray stone. The elite reagent can be retired permanently. But there is a catch. Null salt also kills every focus built around black ember. Cassian's entire career, the academy defenses, and half the crown arsenal depend on it. One cleanup could switch off the kingdom. Kaido tells Oren he may have to retire the crystal. Oren asks whether he understands the cost. Kaido looks at the old man's shaking cup. "I understand who has been paying it." They return to find royal wagons surrounding the academy. Voss has purchased every reagent shelf, every yard cart, and Oren's workshop debt. The crown now owns the supply outright. Students line up for ration tokens while soldiers guard the yard. A sign says private packets are forbidden. One genius asks where his morning focus dust went. A soldier points at the empty shelf. Civilization trembles. Voss receives Kaido beneath rows of locked cases. He offers tea in a cup shaped like a skull. Kaido asks if that is a threat. Voss says, "No, the normal cups were stolen." Kaido places minor statements on the table. Voss does not read them. He says Cassian already accused Kaido of waking the mountain beast and destroying crown property. Without the payment records, the miners are merely desperate workers. Kaido points at Voss's old mark, copied in the depot book. Voss admits he once supervised royal purchases. He claims he tried to close the mine after learning about the beast, but noble houses reopened it under academy protection. Kaido asks why Voss bought every shelf now. The quartermaster says war is coming, and the crown cannot let scandal interrupt supply. There it is. He knows the crystal is dangerous, but armies eat danger with breakfast. Voss offers a bargain. Kaido will manage the crown's reagent yard and keep silent. Oren's debt disappears, the miners receive wages, and Cassian loses access to private stock. It sounds generous because the blade is under the table. Kaido asks what happens when the sleeping beast wakes again. Voss rolls his brass coin and says the crown will deal with it later. Kaido points at the coin. Blue dust sits inside its stamped edge. Voss has been testing living crystal personally. He stops rolling the coin. For the first time, his face gives Kaido something, one twitch beneath the left eye. Kaito refuses the job. Voss gives him until the royal trials tomorrow. If Kaito proves the crystal unsafe before the crown, the supply will be reviewed. If he fails, Oren's workshop and the miners become royal property. Will Cassian perform? Kaito asks. Voss says Cassian requested the opening demonstration. Our boy smiles despite the bruises. The broken spoon just found the pot. Kaido prepares null salt, but soldiers confiscate it as an unauthorized material. Mira argues until 3 spear tips touch her cape. Kaido lets them take the sacks. He expected Voss to count the obvious jars. Sella leads them to the laundry, where workers use null salt on focus-burned uniforms. This shelf holds enough to clean the entire academy or ruin one royal trial. Mira asks whether stealing laundry powder is their grand strategy. Kaido says they are not stealing. Every sack carries a signed cleaning order from Cassian's house. Cassian paid to remove blue stains from uniforms after illegal tests. His own signature now places the null salt inside approved academy use. They move the sacks through a steam tunnel beneath the arena. A laundry worker with arms like tree trunks carries 2 at once. She asks which noble robe needs cleaning. Kaido answers, all of them. Cassian's followers ambush them beside crates of tournament banners. The spear genius from the forest steps forward, but this time he stands with Kaido. He says the dead guard's mother deserves the truth. The followers attack with private focuses. Mira cannot use her cracked ring, so she swings a banner pole. Sella throws cleaning soap under the first attacker's boots. The Royal Academy has officially become combat laundry. Kaido points at the attacker's orange focus tubes. They use heat resin, which becomes sticky in steam. The laundry worker opens a tunnel valve. Hot mist fills the room, gluing 3 casting triggers shut. The 4th attacker cuts through the mist and strikes Kaido's injured hand. The bent tally hook falls. The man raises his blade again, but the spear genius blocks him without using magic. The 2 students trade blows between hanging banners. The attacker breaks the spear shaft and drives the genius against a crate. Then Sella wraps a wet royal banner around his focus and pulls until it snaps. Cassian enters clapping slowly. He says Kaido gathered a charming little army of failures. Mira points at his scorched ring. At least our equipment survives one conversation. Cassian reveals that the crown approved his personal black ember case. He plans to demonstrate a 7-beast formation tomorrow. If it succeeds, the reagent becomes too important to retire. Kaido asks whether Cassian knows the crystal is alive. Cassian says power is power. The beast, the miners, and broken students are simply costs carried by weaker people. Orin hears this from the tunnel entrance. The old man walks in using a cane made from his broken shovel. Cassian laughs at him. Orin says, I signed for Kaido because talent never taught you what a person costs. Cassian's face tightens. He orders his followers to burn the null salt. Kaido tells the laundry worker to drop the floor grate. Every sack falls into the old rain channel beneath the arena. The channel carries null salt toward the capital reservoir. Mira asks whether Kaido just poisoned the city. He points at the sealed drain gate. The salt stops beneath the arsenal, exactly where tomorrow's trial stock will be washed. Their first plan is alive, but Cassian has a stronger counter. He orders royal engineers to close the reservoir and move the trials into the capital arsenal. Voss approves the change within minutes. Kaido realizes the quartermaster anticipated sabotage. The arsenal has its own water, guards, and sealed stock. Orin asks whether they still have a path. Kaido looks at rain beginning over the capital and smiles at every roof gutter. The group travels through streets crowded with trial spectators. Vendors sell blue lion masks, Cassian dolls, and black candy crystals. One child bites a candy lion and makes it fizzle. Kaido considers hiring him. They meet the one-eyed warehouse watchman, who survived the hound attack. He brings a crate recovered from the canal. Inside is the evidence case Kaido dropped while saving the captain. The papers are soaked, but the metal payment plates remain readable. 5 supply houses paid Cassian. The 6th payment came from the crown under Voss's old mark. Now they can prove the whole ladder reaches the palace. The watchman asks for protection in return. Before Kaido answers, royal soldiers enter both ends of the market. Voss wants the case before the trial begins. Kaido's group runs between stalls while soldiers chase them. Mira kicks open a tank of silver eels. Armor, water, and furious fish create the cheapest lightning trap in the capital. A soldier slips but catches Kaido's apron. The watchman throws a smoked octopus into the man's helmet. Named hero? No. Visual legend? Absolutely. They reach the water gate, where a royal captain blocks their boat. He demands the evidence case. Kaido asks whether Voss signed the seizure order. The captain shows the mark. Kaido reads the line and smiles. Voss authorized seizure of stolen Academy records. The payment plates are crown records, not Academy records. The captain has no signed right to take them. The captain says steel gives him the right. Oren steps forward on his cane. Mira raises a broken focus, Sella grips the dead guard's badge, and the watchman lifts another octopus. This is not the squad Voss expected. Before anyone attacks, the captain's deputy reads the order himself. He lowers his spear. Voss made him sign responsibility for any unlawful seizure. The deputy refuses to lose his family home over one quartermaster's bad sentence. Kaido's group escapes toward the arsenal. The watchman laughs until he remembers the soldiers can run along both banks. Their boat has one oar, 3 leaks, and a decorative swan head facing backward. Mira uses short wind bursts to move them. Each burst cracks her focus further. Kaido tells her to stop before it breaks. She points at the soldiers and says, "I'll schedule that for after survival." The canal gate closes ahead. Kaido sees rainwater pouring from the arena district into a side drain. He tells Mira to aim the boat there. The swan head hits the tunnel first, which is the most useful it has been all day. They crawl through a brick channel above rushing water. Sella finds blue residue on the walls. The arsenal has already started washing trial crystals, and the runoff is making dead rats twitch. Kaido points at the residue and asks, "Would you cast with something that wakes corpses?" The watchman looks at the twitching rats and says he would rather retire. They emerge beneath the capital arsenal as spectators fill the galleries above. Rain pounds the glass roof. Hundreds of sealed reagent cases stand around the central proving ground. Cassian enters wearing white armor lined with 7 black crystals. The crowd chants his name. Voss sits beside the crown's empty throne, holding a royal purchase order for every academy shelf. Kaido tries to present the payment plates, but guards surround him. Voss says the trial begins before accusations. If Cassian succeeds, the crown needs uninterrupted supply. Evidence can wait behind locked doors. Kaido asks the miners to speak. The guards refuse them entry. Then the laundry worker appears in the public gallery with 30 freed workers wearing their old ankle chains over their shoulders. Each worker strikes a chain against the railing. The sound spreads across the arsenal. Cassian raises his focus and calls them criminals. One miner lifts his half-potato lunch pail and asks who stole from whom. Voss orders the trial to continue. Cassian inserts the first crystal. A blue lion forms above him, followed by a hawk, a serpent, and 4 armored wolves. 7 beasts circle the proving ground. The audience rises. Cassian points at Kaido and announces that talent will erase every lie spoken today. Our boy checks the rainwater creeping under his boots. Cassian sends the hawk first. Kaido throws powdered limestone into its path, but the beast climbs above it. Cassian adapted after their duel. The hawk dives and tears Kaido's shoulder guard away. Mira launches wine from the gallery, but her cracked focus bursts. The blast knocks the hawk aside and throws her against the rail. Her hand stays closed around 2 broken focus pieces. Cassian sends both wolves at Kaito. The spear genius jumps down and blocks one with a plain iron shaft. The second wolf bites through his armor and hurls him across the wet stone. Sella runs to the fallen student. Cassian's serpent strikes at her, so Oren blocks it with his shovel cane. The cane breaks. Oren falls hard and grips his chest. Kaido reaches Oren, but Cassian seals them inside a ring of blue fire. He says every advantage Kaido stole has finally reached its balance. Then Voss orders the guards to remove the miners. The workers resist. Chains swing, soldiers shove back, and spectators scatter. The laundry worker catches one soldier's spear and bends it over her knee. The crown's finest security has met someone who folds wet sheets professionally. Cassian combines the 7 beasts into one winged lion. The fusion pulls power from every sealed case around the room. Black crystals begin glowing through their boxes. Kaido sees the blue veins moving in the same direction. The arsenal is not feeding Cassian. Cassian is calling the sleeping mountain beast through hundreds of stolen scales. The floor shakes. Cracks split the central drain, and blue water rises through them. Voss finally stands. He orders Cassian to stop, but the older brother cannot release the technique without destroying his focus. Cassian says he can control it. The winged lion grows until its claws crush 2 storage cages. The crowd stops chanting. Why do arrogant geniuses always discover consequences after ordering the deluxe version? Kaido throws the evidence plates toward Voss. One lands at his feet with the old royal mark facing up. Voss sees his own purchase order beside payments for dead miners and stolen academy stock. Voss's coin stops between his fingers. Kaido tells him the living crystal was never a weapon supply. It was a chain linking every elite focus to one monster. Cassian has just pulled that chain. The strongest counter arrives from below. A blue claw breaks through the arsenal floor and tears open the reagent vault. The mountain beast's reach has followed its scales into the capital. Water floods from the broken pipes. Spectators stampede toward locked exits. The royal captain orders the doors opened, but Voss's earlier security orders sealed them until the trial ends. Voss shouts for the captain to break the seals. The captain points at the quartermaster's mark. You made me sign for those doors. The same balance finally turns around and bites Voss. Kaido wades toward the central drain. Cassian's winged lion attacks him again, now half controlled by the beast. Its claw catches Kaido across the back and drives him beneath the blue water. Kaido's head strikes stone. The brass tally hook slips from his burned hand. Above him, Cassian screams at the lion while blue veins crawl over his armor. Sella dives into the water and drags Kaido up. She cannot heal him because every focus is dead. She presses cloth against his back and tells him to breathe. Orin crawls toward them using the broken cane. His face is gray, but he pushes the bent tally hook into Kaido's palm. You still haven't finished counting. Kaido sees rainwater pouring through the shattered roof. The arsenal gutters feed the same drain where the laundry null salt stopped. He only needs to open one gate, but the winged lion stands over it. Mira drops from the gallery without her focus. She grabs a loose banner rope and swings beneath the lion's wing. The creature snaps at her, giving the spear genius time to strike its rear leg. The iron spear cannot cut magic, but it jams the lion's crystal joint. Cassian loses control of one wing. The beast crashes through Voss's royal platform and scatters sealed cases into the flood. Black crystals spill everywhere. Their blue veins point toward Kaido like compass needles. He grabs one, and it pulses hard enough to reopen the burn across his hand. Cassian shouts that Kaido could never understand this power. Kaido holds up the living crystal and says, I understand its price better than you. Then he hooks the drain lever. Cassian attacks personally. He drives a blue blade through Kaido's apron and pins him against the lever wheel. The older brother asks whether humiliating him was worth Orin's ruin. Kaido looks at Orin, the miners, Sella's broken badge, and Mira's shattered focus. No, he says. Stopping you is. He twists the tally hook around Cassian's blade and pulls both of them into the flood. Cassian loses his grip. Kaido reaches the lever, but Voss grabs his wrist. The quartermaster says opening that drain will retire every black crystal in the arsenal. The kingdom's elite units will lose their core techniques. Kaido says the alternative is letting the beast own those techniques. Voss offers one final bargain. He will clear Orin's debt, pay the miners, and place Kaido above Cassian if Kaido preserves the stock. Kaido asks, will you close the mine? Voss says the coming war makes that impossible. Will you stop recycling the crystals? Voss says the crown needs every piece. Will you free every worker? Kaido asks. Voss promises better terms after the war. Kaido looks at the ankle chains rattling in the gallery. Then you offered me their tab. Voss draws a short sword. Kaido catches the blade with the brass hook, but his burned fingers begin slipping. The quartermaster is no mage. He is simply stronger, rested, and very interested in keeping his job. Voss drives Kaido to one knee. Cassian rises behind them and rebuilds the lion's head from the last crystal in his ring. 2 enemies, 1 working hand, and 0 mana. Our yard rat finally looks exactly as powerless as everyone claimed. Then Orin whistles. The clinic goat is not here, sadly, but 30 miners understand the signal. They pull their ankle chains together and rip the gallery's rain gates from the wall. A wall of rainwater crashes into the proving ground. It carries the laundry null salt from the blocked channel beneath the arena. White foam spreads around every black crystal. The first crystal turns gray. Then another dies, followed by 10, 50, and every sealed piece on this side of the arsenal. Cassian's winged lion loses its jaw in the middle of a roar. Cassian forces more power through his ring. The crystal cracks, stains his fingers blue, and becomes dead stone. His famous technique collapses before the crown, the academy, and every house that built a career around it. Thousands watch Cassian reach for a spell that no longer exists. Kaido stands in the flood with blood on his apron and the tally hook hanging from his burned hand. There it is. The family's broken spoon just emptied the royal pot. The blue claw beneath the floor begins fading. Without active crystals to follow, the mountain beast loses its path into the capital. The broken vault settles, but half the arsenal remains underwater. Cassian punches Kaido with his bare hand. Kaido takes the hit, then answers with the tally hook across Cassian's focus belt. Every dead crystal spills into the water like gray teeth. Cassian stares at them. His shoulders drop before his knees do. He does not cry or shout. He keeps trying the same hand sign while nothing answers, and that silence follows him after the guards take him away. The Academy geniuses inspect their dead focuses. Some blame Kato. Others stare at the miners and lower their eyes. Mira holds up her already broken ring and says, "Welcome to the barrel." Voss orders Kaido arrested for destroying Crown Supply. The royal captain does not move. He has read the payment plates, and the miners are still striking chains against the rail. Kato points at Voss's blue-dusted coin. The quartermaster used living crystal after knowing the risk. The captain takes the coin as evidence. Voss's mouth tightens, but he still has one card left. Hours later, the crown suspends Cassian and every elite technique built on Black Ember. 5 supply houses lose their academy orders. The matron disappears before guards reach her estate. Oren's debt should vanish with the false charges, but Voss transferred it again before his arrest. The new holder is the crown itself. Even cornered, that man moved numbers like a final knife. Sella binds Kaido's back while Oren sleeps nearby. Mira sits with her shattered focus pieces arranged on the blanket. She asks whether Kaido planned the flood from the laundry tunnel. Kaido says he planned 6 different failures and got lucky on the 7th. Mira considers that, then throws a pillow at him. It misses and knocks the skull-shaped teacup from Voss's abandoned tray. Students return to powerless training. Fire geniuses learn flint. Wind geniuses learn fans. One thunder prodigy stares at 2 wires and looks personally betrayed by physics. Kaido reopens the reagent yard using common salt, lamp oil, and safe crystal dust. Every technique must now list its real cost. Students complain that Kaido retired the strongest path. He points at a first-year building a shield from 3 cheap powders. No. I retired one lazy answer. The shield holds, and the first-year's scarred hand finally stops shaking. Oren returns with his clay whistle and a lighter apron. He cannot lift crates, so he teaches students to count them. The soup-stained tally book receives a new cover made from Cassian's Blue Lion banner. Kaido crosses out the last private supply mark. 5 houses are finished. The matron remains missing, Voss remains under guard, and the crown still owns Oren's debt. Several loops closed, but the nasty ones brought friends. A royal convoy arrives carrying green crystals no one recognizes. Soldiers unload them under heavy cloth. Each case bears the mark of the enemy kingdom beyond the western border. The royal captain gives Kaido a sealed order. The crown has chosen him to inspect the replacement reagent because nobody else can expose its cost. If he refuses, Oren's debt is collected that evening. Kaido asks who arranged the order. A voice answers from inside the lead carriage. Voss steps down without chains, wearing a new quartermaster badge and that same unreadable smile. Voss says the crown cleared him because war matters more than old purchases. He opens one green case. Inside, the crystals beat like tiny hearts, and every academy focus turns toward them. Cassian appears behind the carriage in plain armor. His rank is gone, but the crown drafted him as a guide to the Western Front. He looks at Kaido's tally hook and says, "You ended my career." Kaido answers, "You built it on something alive." Cassian steps closer. "Then come see what these are built on." For once, his warning contains no pride. Only a small tremor in his empty casting hand. Voss reveals the next balance. Kaido must travel with the convoy, test the enemy crystals, and sign for every advantage the crown takes. Oren stays behind as the guarantee. Mira grabs her cracked focus pieces. Sella fastens the broken guard badge around her wrist. Oren picks up his whistle and says the yard can survive one more terrible field trip. Kaido climbs onto the lead wagon beside crates that whisper when sunlight hits them. He has humiliated the Academy's geniuses, retired his brother's power, and broken 5 supply houses. Now the crown wants him to count a war. The convoy rolls toward black clouds over the border. One green crystal taps against its case from the inside. Kaido rests the tally hook across his knees and asks, "So what happens when the reagent starts counting us?" That answer waits beyond the border, along with the missing matron and whatever bought Voss's freedom. If you want the next part, leave a like and tell me whether Kaido should break the crown's supply or take control of it.